1:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Danishka Madhavela and read by Niranjan Abesundara. The Prime Minister inspects the farmlands in the Eastern Province. The Prime Minister says Batticaloa district is a multifaceted economy that can cater both to our national economy as well as exports. Iran and Sri Lanka seek closer ties. Japan provides free fertilizer for the farmers in Anuradhapura and Northern Province. Government allocated 3 billion rupees to restore small tanks. The annual August festival of historic Our Lady of Madhu will begin today. In world news, Indonesia's military rulers ask for help from Russian group Wagner. In sports news, Netherlands beat South Africa to reach Women's Football World Cup quarter-finals. The Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena chats with farmers in Kamatesagama in Trincomalee during his visit to Eastern Province to attend Aluth Gamak District Development Program to the weekend. Eastern Province Governor Senthil Tondaman, MPs Kapila Athukorala and Yadavini Gunawardena also joined him for this visit. The Premier said the Batticaloa district has a vibrant, multifaceted economy that can cater both to the district and the national economy as well as to enhance exports. Addressing the New Village New Country National Integration Participatory Development Program held in Batticaloa, District Secretariat on Friday, he instructed District Development Council to immediately formulate a development plan for the next 2 years. He urged all communities as well as public servants to extend fullest cooperation for speedy implementation of the development plan. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister said a new development plan for Gullowa Valley will be introduced shortly. He added, every officer in the state machinery has a responsibility and duty. Although responsibility is assigned to by position, duty is a role that goes beyond that. Therefore, we face the challenge of implementing the relationship between duties and responsibilities more deeply when making some decisions. And this way, priority projects are implemented through district-to-district discussions with the state administration and related institutions. Sri Lanka's Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri, who is in an official visit to Tehran, met with Iranian counterpart Mr. Dr. Hussein Ahmed Abdurhian at the Iranian Foreign Ministry in Tehran yesterday. They discussed on expanding bilateral interactions between the two countries as well as on regional and international issues. Iranian Foreign Minister in a joint press briefing with Minister Ali Sabri said the two sides discussed a wide range of bilateral, regional and international issues including economic cooperation, trade and tourism development and increasing cooperation in regional and international organizations. He added that the two sides enjoy a common political will to expand cultural, tourism, scientific cooperation, and the export of medical and engineering services, medical services and equipment and new technologies in addition to cooperation in the fields of economy, tourism and energy were among the issues of mutual interest between the Iranian and Sri Lankan diplomats. According to Iranian Foreign Minister, the two sides also discussed the issue of Iranian and Sri Lankan prisoners. Based on the agreement, the two sides agreed to take action regarding the release of prisoners in the two countries in a humane way in the near future. Japan provides free fertilizer for the farmers in Anuradhapura and Northern Province. The government of Japan is providing 8,500 metric tons of urea fertilizer in this regard. The fertilizer ship has arrived in Colombo yesterday. Unloading activities are now taking place. Ministry of Agriculture Department of Agrarian Development will distribute the fertilizer. The project will also provide smallholder paddy farmers information on the efficient use of fertilizer to maximize production. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira said the government has approved an amount of 3 billion rupees to the Department of Agrarian Development for this year to restore the small tank system in the island and prepare it to provide the necessary water to the farmers. Agriculture Minister Mahinda Amaravira Saturday handed over the restored Pilagudala ancient tank in Naula to the public after restoration by the Department of Agrarian Development. According to the minister, 200 tanks across the island will be renovated under this scheme this year with the allocation of 3 billion rupees. Addressing the farmers, the minister said that in the next Maha season, all of the 1.2 million farmers who are cultivating paddy will be provided with one chemical fertilizer free of charge and steps will be taken to further reduce the price of another type of fertilizer. The annual festival of St. Anne's Shrine in Talawila concluded today. Annual festival mass of St. Anne's Shrine in Talawila was consecrated this morning. Shilla Bishop Reverend Dr. Valence Bendis presided over the festival mass. and at the Mass, the people worshipped and devotees were blessed. The annual festival of St. Anne's Shrine in Thalawila started on the 29th of last month with the hoisting of the flag. Meanwhile, the annual August festival of the historic Our Lady of Madhu will begin this evening with the flag hoisting. Following Holy Rosary and Mass will be offered every evening for the next 9 days. A special Eucharistic service will be held and Eucharistic blessing will be given to devotees on the 14th of this month. The concelebration of the festival Mass will be conducted by the bishops on the 15th of this month. And that was local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Pranil Wickramasinghe emphasized that innovation and creativity will be crucial in revitalizing the construction industry that is facing a downturn as of the recent economic crisis and rekindling its growth for a promising future. President noted that in the past, the economy predominantly revolved around concrete-based development, primarily directed at infrastructure like roads and irrigation projects. However, the resulting debt burden has contributed to the current crisis. He pointed out that while this situation doesn't mandate a complete halt to construction, economic restructuring calls for a shift in focus to other sectors. President Wickramasinghe made the remarks at an international conference on architecture, which was organized by the Royal Institute of British Architects HEPTA in Sri Lanka in collaboration with the American Institute of Architects and the Italian Embassy of Sri Lanka on the theme Architecture, a Lasting Impact, held in Colombo yesterday.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
Minister of Health Kelly Rabakrala said the Ministry of Health has decided to stop the purchase of emergency medicines as some parties are making serious allegations regarding the purchase of the emergency drugs. Mr. Rabakrala said the emergency purchases were necessary to meet the country's medicine requirements and it differs from the normal purchases only with respect to the time. That came to you in Watchlight.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
On to world news, Nigeria's military rulers ask for help from Russian group Wagner. Philippines accuses China of firing water cannon at boats in South China Sea. Saudi Arabia urges citizens to immediately leave Lebanon. Nigeria's coup generals have asked for help from Russian mercenary group Wagner as the deadline nears for its release. The country's removed president or face possible military intervention by the West African regional bloc, a news report said. The request came during a visit by coup leader General Salifu Modi to neighboring Mali, where he made contact with some from Wagner, Wasim Nasser, a journalist and some senior research fellow at the Soufan Center, told the Associated Press. The Malian sources said French diplomat confirmed the meeting, first reported by France 24, Nasser added. Nigeria's military government faces a Sunday deadline set by the regional bloc known as ECOWAS to release and reinstate the democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum, who had described himself as a hostage. The Philippine Coast Guard has accused its Chinese counterpart of firing water cannon at its vessels and blocking them in the disputed South China Sea. It said it happened when a ship was escorting boats carrying supplies for Filipino soldiers stationed on one of the contested Spratly Islands. U.S. condemned Beijing's dangerous actions, also blaming Chinese maritime militia for the incident. China has not publicly commented on the reported incident. Beijing claims almost the entire South China Sea, including Spratlys, which is also claimed in part by the Philippines. They are also complaining from Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei and Taiwan. Saudi Arabia's embassy in Lebanon urges citizens to leave the country as soon as possible and to avoid approaching areas where there have been armed clashes. In a statement posted last Friday on X, formerly known as Twitter, the embassy warned Saudi citizens not to visit areas where armed clashes were taking place, and official Saudi news agency SPA reported. The kingdom did not specify which areas in Lebanon it was advising its citizens to avoid. Kuwait is also an advisory early on Saturday calling on Kuwaitis in Lebanon to stay vigilant and to avoid areas of security disturbances, but stopped short of asking them to leave the country, according to a statement by the Kuwait Foreign Ministry posted on X. Back to the headlines of the world news. Indonesia's military rulers asked for help from Russian group Wagner. Philippines accuses China of firing water cannon at boats in South China Sea. Saudi Arabia urges its citizens to immediately leave Lebanon. That was world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Desha Sri Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
Minister of Port Shipping and Aviation Nimal Sitipala Silva planned to restore Taliban jetty, which was damaged and deteriorated during the 3 decades of war, and develop it as a port for passenger cruises from Rameswaram, India. Accordingly, as per the minister's instructions, Sri Lanka Port Authority has prepared plan to carry out the renovation work of the jetty at an amount of 1.8 billion rupees and has been estimated at a cost. Along with the renovation work of the jetty, it has also been decided to acquire 10 acres from the government-owned land bordering the jetty to improve the infrastructure of the port under the first phase.
Vacancies for women from Desha Sri Lanka for housekeepers, home cooks, caretakers and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 0377 500 500.
On to sports news, soccer, Netherlands secured a quarter-final spot against Spain at the FIFA Women's World Cup, but not before enduring several anxious moments against South Africa. Giroud, Manchester City News Club record signing, nodded the Dutch ahead with the 9th minute, but South Africa went close to equalizing several times against the 2019 runners-up. Meanwhile, Japan took a step closer to the second Women's World Cup title when they beat Norway to reach the quarter-finals. 2011 champions made idle start when Norway defender Ingrid Engen turned Hinata Miyazawa's cross in her own net. However, Norway equalized a few minutes later when Guro Reiten headed home. Riza Shimizu's heavily deflected strike restored Japan's lead before Hinata Miyazawa raced through to score a third and seal her side's progress. That was sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said Batticaloa district has a vibrant, multifaceted economy that can cater both to the district and the national economy, as well as to enhance exports. Addressing a New Village, New Country National Integration Development Program held at Batticaloa District Secretariat on Friday, he instructed the District Development Council to immediately formulate the development plan for the next 2 years. He urged all communities as well as public servants to extend fullest cooperation for speedy implementation of the development plan.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, employment in the U.S. held steady last month, bolstering hopes that the economy will avoid a painful downturn. Employers added 107,000 jobs similar to June, while jobless rate dipped from 3.5% to 3.6% in the prior month, Labor Department said. Report was the latest sign of economic resilience in the U.S. despite a sharp rise in borrowing costs. Hiring has slowed since last year and was weaker than forecast in July, but was held up better than expected. That was economic news.
Weather report.
Spells of light showers will occur in the western and Sabaragawa provinces and the Gol, Mathura, Kandy and Nuriri districts. Showers and other showers may occur at a few places in the eastern province during the evening or at night. Mild fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. Back to the headlines of the news. The Prime Minister inspects the farmlands in the eastern province. The Prime Minister says Batticaloa district is a multifaceted economy that can cater both to our national economy as well as exports. Iran and Sri Lanka seek closer ties. Japan provides free fertilizer for the farmers in Radhapura and Northern Province. Government allocated 3 billion rupees to restore small tanks. Annual August Festival of Our Lady of Badu will begin today. In world news, Indonesia's military rulers ask for help from a Russian group, Wagner. Sports, Netherlands beat South Africa to reach Women's Football World Cup quarterfinals. And that ends this afternoon news. You're tuned to Radio Sri Lanka.